Welcome back to Computer Science at SSFS. In the next series of videos, we're going to look at lists, which is a structure in Python used to hold different data types. In many other computer languages, these might be referred to as arrays, so you'll see that sometimes. Up until now, we've talked about variables that hold one piece of information. For example, we might have a variable called number that is assigned the value of 1. And then again, the variable number holds the value of 1. Or we could have a variable that holds a string. Word equals hello. So we've seen examples of this before. But again, each variable holds one piece of information. What a list does, it allows you to keep track of multiple pieces of information. So for example, you might have a list called list of numbers that holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That holds 8 different pieces of information. So a couple things to notice about lists. You can name them the same way you would any other variable, but a list is defined by these square brackets. And the square brackets are usually above the enter or return key. And all values in a list must be separated by a comma. And you don't have to put a space in, but the space makes it look a lot neater. So now if I wanted to print the list of numbers, it prints out all the numbers at one time. So again, a list is great for holding multiple pieces of information. Let's create another list so we can talk about how to access different pieces of information. I'm going to create a list called words, and I'm just going to put some words in here. And I'll just do Python. So now I have a list of words, and I can print that list, and it prints out the different words. Well, let's say I just wanted to access the word world. Again, if you remember before, in computer science we usually start counting at 0. So we say the index of hello is 0. It's at the 0th position. The index of world is at 1, and the index of Python is at 2. So if I want to return the word world, I'd write the name of my list, then the square brackets, and whatever position my element is in that I want. So if I do words 1, it returns world. If I did words 2, it returns Python, which is the 0, 1, 2. It's in that position. If you try to give it an element or an index that's outside the range of the list, you'll get an error. So let's say I wanted to return words 5. And I get list index out of range. You'll see that every time you try to use an index that's larger than the length of your list. If you want to know exactly how many elements are in a list, let's say you're creating a list programmatically, you can use the method or the function length. And if I do the length of words, it tells me I have 3 elements. And again, length is a useful function when trying to figure out exactly how many elements are in your list. So we've seen how it's possible to retrieve a single element from a list. Well, what about if I wanted to retrieve multiple elements from a list? Well, we can do this with a tool called slicing. And we're going to use our list of numbers again, so I'm just going to print that so we remember what it said. And I know that I've got 8 numbers in that list. Let's say I wanted to return a certain subset of those numbers. So the way you do that is you type, again, the name of your list, and then square brackets, just like you would for indexing a single element. But I'm going to put a colon. And before the colon is the position I want to start getting from. So let's say I want to start from position 2. And after the colon is the position you want to end with. So let's say 5. So that should be, this is 0, 1, 2. So it should start with a 3. And then 3, 4, 5. It should end with a 6. So let's see what that looks like. Well, notice it only gave me 3, 4, 5. It didn't include the 6. So when you are slicing a list, remember that the second number is not inclusive. It was the same way we saw it with range. It didn't include that last number. So if I wanted to include the 6, I would have had to increase that by 1. So I would have had to make that. And now I've got 3, 4, 5, 6. There are some shorthand slices too. So for example, if I wanted to start with the number 3 and go all the way to the end, I would write list of numbers and then my square brackets, and I'm going to start with 3, so that's in the second position. I put my colon. Well, then I just leave the last part blank, and that just means take everything from that second position all the way up to the end. And now I see I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, I can do the same kind of thing. Let's say I want to start with the first position and go out to the 5th position. Okay. If you don't put anything before the colon, that just means start at the beginning of the list. And now you see it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, and it doesn't include that last position. You can also slice in a negative direction. So for example, if I go list of numbers -1, that should return the last element in the list, which is the 8. I can also include negative numbers in my slice. So if I want to go list of numbers, and I'm going to start with the beginning and include everything up until the negative first position, that gives me everything but the last number. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to modify a list. So remove elements, add elements, and substitute elements.